Hello, and welcome back to With the Flow, a Junco podcast. I'm Addison Haggerty. Today, I'm speaking to Margaret Rogers. Margaret is the Director of Marketing at Natalist, a company working to combat reproductive stigma with evidence-backed fertility and pregnancy products. As a mom with first-hand, difficult fertility experiences, Margaret is here to discuss the ever-present role Natalist plays in facilitating conversations around conception, sustainability, and the power of normalizing community support. Margaret, thanks so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
So I know you described, or everybody at Natalist describes yourselves as kind of a company by moms who have been there. So could you describe the mission at Natalist in relation to the steps to parenthood?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, we're a team that is founded, funded, and led by moms. And what we do is we make beautiful evidence-backed fertility and pregnancy essentials, and they all have a net zero plastic footprint. And our mission is really to reduce the shame, misinformation, and the outdated product offerings that we experienced when we were on our journeys to pregnancy and parenthood.
That's awesome. Yeah. Now, I know we talked a little bit before the interview about the similarities between the sustainability efforts of June and Natalist, and you just mentioned it again here. So could you share a little bit more about the sustainability efforts like the 100% plastic neutral achievement by Natalist?
Yeah, so about a year after we launched what we call our Mother Earth Sustainability Initiative. And so where we are today, as you mentioned, all of our products are certified plastic neutral. They're 100% plastic neutral. So for every pound of plastic that we sell, we facilitate the removal of a pound of plastic pollution.
That's fantastic. I love hearing about all those initiatives and just the general trend that a lot of companies seem to be genuinely making a fantastic effort, not only for consumers, but for the earth. That just honestly makes my heart happy. So that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing. So to jump over to tying menstrual care to natal care, do you believe that there's, a kind of stigma, a shame, embarrassment, hiding it? I feel like we've all been through that stage where we'll tuck a tampon or a pad in a sleeve to go to the bathroom because we don't want people to know that you're on your period. So do you think that the kind of stigma around getting your period could kind of set the stage or carry over to a similar kind of stress, worry, or struggle when trying to conceive?
Yeah, I think that when women are trying to conceive, oftentimes they don't talk about any problems they might be having until they've become successfully pregnant. The norm in our society is that most women don't tell anyone they're pregnant until they're out of the first trimester. So it just kind of creates that level of hiding it, not wanting to share with others when it's a time that you might actually really need support from others. We'd like to see that changed. We'd like to see people not feeling like they need to hide something, or even people that have very healthy, so-called easy pregnancies. There shouldn't be shame around that either. People should be able to share their experiences, whether they're good or bad, whenever they're comfortable sharing them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could not agree more. Do you think that a way to start doing this would be does that need to be targeted in the classroom personally, just all over the board? I don't know. I don't have an answer to the question exactly. I guess just where to start having that conversation or where it would be the most important.
Yeah, I think the way to start is, like you said, by having the conversations wherever they may be. And that's a huge part of our mission. So we like to spotlight people in their pregnancy and parenthood journeys. And we've gotten lots of feedback from customers that find value in our educational content, that reading about the stories of other people on their path to pregnancy has helped them feel less alone or helped them realize that they're not the only person going through what they may be going through.
Absolutely. I think there's just so much importance in getting it out there. So I'm thankful that both June and Natalist are taking the steps to help make that happen. So as you and I also discussed before recording, we both believe it's really important to stop asking women when they will be pregnant, because that can be an unknowingly loaded question for someone who simply just doesn't have the bandwidth to kindly respond. So that being said, how do you think we can get people to stop asking and start spreading the idea that the journey is difficult and sensitive and so different for everyone?
Yeah. When you ask someone when they're going to get pregnant or when they're going to have children, it can just be so triggering if that's someone who maybe is struggling to get pregnant. I've had 3 pregnancy losses myself. And, I've walked my dog around the neighborhood and a neighbor has innocently asked, when am I going to give my daughter a sibling? And, they're just trying to be kind, make conversation, but they have no idea what they're asking, nor do I really want to go into it with someone I don't know well. So I think that we just have to realize that journeys to pregnancy, they're super easy for some people and they're not as easy for other people. And so letting people share their story when they're ready. Don't put them on the spot. Certainly don't ask them, with the holidays coming up, don't ask them at the Thanksgiving dinner table when they're planning to get pregnant.
Wonderfully said. So to further delve into some of those common misconceptions and harmful behaviors around reproductive health, could you offer some information for menstruators dealing with, the stigma around reproductive conditions such as polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, pelvic inflammatory disease, in regards to trying to conceive?
Yeah, I think if you are, if you experience any of those conditions, you should absolutely let your OBGYN know. Even if pregnancy and parenthood isn't on the immediate horizon, just go ahead and let them know. There is some data that people with PCOS or endometriosis, they might have some additional obstacles in trying to get pregnant, but that certainly does not mean everyone with those conditions will. But you should, if you know you have PCOS or that you have endometriosis and you want to get pregnant at some point, you may as well go ahead and educate yourself and ask all the questions you can. I've found personally and in chatting with others that just being empowered with knowledge helps the process so much because you just feel, you're empowered, you have the education, you know what questions to ask so you can fight and advocate for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to respond with knowledge is power, right? And yeah.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
since most June users are actively menstruating, what is the most important facet of the menstrual cycle to be educated about to understand your reproductive health?
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I'm guilty of this myself. Before I actually started trying to get pregnant, I didn't fully understand the menstrual cycle and at what
Hmm.
points during the menstrual cycle you can actually get pregnant. And so the only times in your menstrual cycle that you're able to get pregnant is what's called your fertile window. And those are the 5 days leading up to plus the day of ovulation. So you can only get pregnant when you're ovulating.
Yeah, I also didn't know. I mean, I'm 22 and I feel like I know that a little sooner than my mom maybe did or
Right.
others. And a lot of other people my age that I talk to don't know that. And I actually did an Instagram poll asking how many of my followers did. And it was, I think, about 60 who did, 30 who didn't, which is better than I was expecting.
Right.
But hopefully more and more people start to learn that because it's super important for understanding just the health of your menstrual cycle, understanding, how not to get pregnant, and then also understanding how to get pregnant.
Absolutely.
So how could listeners best reach out to learn more about the products and services Natalist offers?
Yeah, so you can find us online at natalist.com, natalist.com, and on social media at Natalist Co. Follow us on Instagram. We'd love to have you there and join in on the conversation. We have a really engaged community and we share great content. We talk to doctors, registered dietitians, labor and delivery nurses, and just regular people on their path to pregnancy and parenthood. And we share all of that information. So we'd love to have you join us.
I absolutely second that. Yeah, I followed you guys for a while now and I love the content that you guys put out. I enjoy the content, like I said, even as somebody not necessarily using your services right now, but it's a great space and I've learned a lot so far. So
Thank you so much.
yeah.
And yeah, if anyone wants to shop, we have a discount code just for June listeners. So if you use June 10 at checkout, you'll get 10% off.
Okay, awesome. Well, Margaret, thank you so much for your time today. It's been wonderful learning about you and the work of Natalist on the show.
Thank you so much. I've loved chatting with you.
Here's this episode's Break the Cycle tip brought to you by the minds behind the June Cup. Regardless of where you are in your lifelong journey of a monthly flow, it's so important to break the cycle of misinformation around what actually happens in your uterus and ovaries that makes you bleed, and to realize that everyone's normal period looks totally different from person to person. When I was in high school, I fell victim to constantly over-exercising and chronically under-eating. I felt really fit. I didn't let a day go by without a very structured exercise regime, and I was proud of the fact that I had stuck to it. However, when I went for my yearly physical and they asked me to state the date of my last period, I had to think months back to when I had actually had one. This was my body's way of telling me that something was off. Although this was just a short-term experience for me, it was about a functional hypothalamic amenorrhea, one of the most common causes of secondary anovulation caused by high levels of stress or exercise or low caloric intake. The importance of this tip is to stress that no period presents the same way, and we all bleed differently. But if you have concerns about missed periods, have trouble finding a pattern for your body, or just want to know more about your specific cycle, speak up to your support system in your life and make an appointment with your gynecologist. The further we can normalize talking about our beautifully diverse cycles, the more comfortable we can all be when we crave that support system to help weather the cramps, rejoice in a positive pregnancy test, or simply discuss your last June Cup experience. Thanks so much for listening, learning, and going with the flow.